Warning, the following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, kiddies. This is yours duly, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And you're listening to Slasher Radio.
Yeah. Pretty much. Mr. Chiodo. I think you're muted, sir.
If you're right.
There you go.
Who am I talking to?
My name is Mike. We've been talking via email, and my co-hosts Rob and Kat are with us as well.
Hi there.
Hey, hello.
How are you?
Well, I'm fine. And where are you calling from?
I'm in New York. I wish I have a desktop, so I don't have a camera. I wish I could join you visually.
Oh, that's not fair.
Don't worry, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, trust me. It's better this way.
Where in New York?
Long Island.
I used to hail from Deer Park, Long Island.
Oh, wow, that is not far at all. Wow.
I'll be visiting in June. In June, we're going to the East Coast for a convention in Pennsylvania. Then I'm going to stop by to see my family on Long Island.
Where in Pennsylvania?
You know, I couldn't tell you right now. It's somewhere. It's a drive-in.
Oh.
It's a drive-in, and they're doing get this. They want to do a Killer Clowns screening with the brothers, but the drive-in, they want to do it on Friday, but the drive-in is showing Killer Clowns on Tuesday, which kind of ruined their plans. So we're doing a Critters double feature instead.
Hey, you can't get mad at that. That's pretty. Yeah, they still run those drive-ins in Pennsylvania, which is really nice. My dad used to have a house out there. So it's, kind of hop, skip, and a jump from New York, which isn't too bad.
It's about 3 hours, I calculated. So
depending on the bridge.
Yeah, there's a drive-in somewhere in Pennsylvania that's well known for that sort of thing. They have lots of screenings and signings and all sorts of stuff going on. I live in just outside of Indianapolis, and I think there's probably 4 drive-ins within 45 minutes of where I live.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's nice. It came in real handy last summer when we couldn't do anything else.
No, it's unfortunate. They turned a lot of the old drive-ins into swap meets, and then they just knocked them down for stores and condos. So yes, I missed that. That was a big part of my childhood, sneaking into the drive-ins. I saw all the Planet of the Apes movies in one night. They started at dusk, and all 5 movies up until dawn. It's horrible.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. That drive-ins were a little before my time, but I caught a couple of them my parents took me to when I was young, and my dad has told me stories of when he used to have to hide in the trunk going in. I guess his parents were skimping on a ticket or two, and a couple of them had to go in the trunk.
Yeah, that's always fun. That was a great time.
But Mr. Chiodo, thank you so much for taking your time to join us. We're really excited, to have a chat with you.
Oh, my pleasure. I love to talk to people who still enjoy that movie.
Enjoy all your stuff. We're gonna pretty much just do the interview with you. We'll do our intro and outro and all that later, so we don't take up your time with all that. So we can kind of just hop right into you.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay, let me just make sure everything is recording, because that would be awful. Okay.
Yeah, after that conversation we just had.
Yeah, right. I know. Okay, guys, we spoke about it last week, and we are here with Mr. Stephen Chiodo. We can go on and on about his resume, and which we will throughout this conversation. But Mr. Chiodo, how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing fine, thanks. It's it's pretty nice weather here in California.
Oh, you are lucky, lucky, lucky. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to start with, like I said, we could jump into so many. You've been a part of so many great projects, but I wanted to ask you first, what drew you into horror specifically? Because looking through your track list in all different departments, writing, effects, directing, most of them seem to be horror.
Yeah, I guess so. In the broad scope of horror, I think you're correct. But actually, it was monster movies that attracted me when I was very young. And I guess back in the 50s and 60s, I guess horror and monster movies were kind of synonymous, like the
Mhm.
Universal monsters and things like that. They were horror films but I like the characters. And what it was, King Kong was the pivoting moment for me in my lifespan. The original King Kong, the black and white version. At the time, I was living in the Bronx, and we had these elevated train tracks right down the block. And when I saw King Kong rampaging through the city, tearing down the trains from the L tracks, it was real to me. And I just was fascinated with dinosaurs and Kong and all of that stuff. So that's what made me interested in horror, but more specifically, giant monsters, I'd say was the attraction.
Okay. Well, before we even go any further, what did you think of the Godzilla vs King Kong? Since it had such an impact on you, to see how far stuff like that has gone.
Pretty amazing.
Isn't it?
Technology-wise, the imagery is just phenomenal. I would imagine if I was 6 to 10 years old today, I would have been just as intrigued and fascinated with monsters because of that film, just like I was with the original. It's great, except it was a little weak on the character story. I think the effects were great. It wasn't much of a real character story there, but it was still pretty fantastic as far as effects. Yeah. Did you like it?
Well, in a movie like that, I think the humans and the story and the talking are sort of secondary to just monsters punching each other.
I think you're right. So then you got it. That's what they delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
We all just want to see the big monsters.
Well, there's nothing like seeing a tremendous dinosaur or creature walking down the streets of a city, tearing through the buildings. I mean, that's just an amazing image. I've fallen in love with that ever since I started watching films.
And on the big screen, those moments are so fun to experience, I think, as well.
Absolutely. And did you have a chance to see Godzilla versus King Kong in the theater?
No, I wish I did.
I saw it in IMAX with my son. It was the first time he had been to a theater and since everything shut down. But I was like, you know what? This is going to be amazing. We're going to the IMAX theater. We're going to make a night of it, and it was great.
I saw it on HBO Max.
Yeah, I saw it on TV, but my younger brother Edward took his grandson. Same story. He hadn't been to the theaters since they closed, and he said it was great. He said it needs to be seen on the big screen.
As a fan of the Universal monster movies, could you just hop in on a debate that we were having a couple weeks ago? Sorry, sorry to derail us immediately. But what did you think about? Did you see the new Invisible Man? Did you like it?
I did. I thought it was great.
Awesome, excellent.
What did you think, Kat?
I love it. It was one of my favorite releases from not last year because it was 2019, wasn't it? It was one of my favorite theatrical releases that year, and I really liked it. I thought they did a great job. Mikey has a problem with the suit, so.
Yeah. Well, you have to kind of, it's that kind of movie, but it was one of the best reimagining of the old franchise. I thought it was thrilling. It was surprising. I was really thoroughly entertained. I'm looking forward to what they do next. If they keep that director and that team of people as they pursue the horror franchise. Years ago, the brothers, we were presented the franchise in a very superficial way, but we went to Universal and they said, okay, come up with something. And we went, again, the comedy route. We had a thing called Monsters for Hire, where all those horror monsters, the monsters, werewolf, and Frankenstein, the mummy, and the creature, they're out of work because of the new monsters, the Alien and Freddy and all those guys. So they needed jobs. They're all bums out of work. So they start working in Los Angeles. I think Frankenstein was like a party monster. He used to go to kids' birthday parties. Werewolf was a bouncer at a bar. I think Dracula, I forget what he was. Dracula was a late night DJ. And it was really funny. It was just really great stuff. It's like the anxiety of guys who are too old to, to be valid anymore, trying to make it in the world.
That's great. I would have seen
They
that.
didn't go for it.
Yeah. I thought for sure you were going to bring up The Shape of Water, Cat. I was getting ready.
Oh,
Well,
It is amazing though how horror has that flexibility to where, because that does sound like I would definitely be down to sit and watch that, but you can go so many routes and you can kind of lean on comedy really as much as you want, especially nowadays, and still get that authenticity of the horror genre across.
well, I'm glad you say that. I mean, a lot of people don't think you could mix horror and comedy. Well, at least years ago,
Right.
Bob Kay and those guys back in the 90s, he didn't think comedy and horror mixed. And we thought, no, it's a valid. You have scares, you have a love story, a real love story, a real drama, real suspense, real horror, and real comedy. They could all be mixed up in one genre. But I do think the audiences today will take it. And I think they do enjoy it. Sam Raimi's done it for years.
Yeah.
It's been great horror and real kick-ass comedy and action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
You work with your brothers, and sort of historically speaking, that doesn't work out so well. How have you guys made it work for you? Every time you think of famous brothers, it's always about how much they hate each
That's
other.
funny. There's stories about the Warner brothers, how one used to chase the other one with scissors around the office. But I think, the dynamics are interesting. Could you imagine 3 Italian brothers working creatively, brainstorming? There's a lot of disagreements. And we usually go to the democracy if 2 out of 3 wins. So whoever the 2 go with, that's what the company goes with. Now we've had our arguments. They used to call us the Chiodo Brawlers a while, early 90s, because of how hot things used to get. But we've mellowed since we were older. It's interesting as our ideas are different because of our personalities, but because of that similar background, they're close enough that it kind of facilitates collaboration. So we're never really too far off with the overall concept. It's just a battle of the details. And
I can see
because
that.
I end up directing these things, I usually win over because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's got to believe in it enough to direct. So yeah, I kind of get my way a lot of times.
Well, that Steve, that brings up an interesting question. Then, is there anything that you didn't that your brothers came up with, and maybe you got outvoted and you had to go with that worked out, or vice versa? Maybe anything like that.
Well, let's see. I don't know. It's funny. I've always wanted to do something with the Sea Monkeys. Sea Monkeys, that cheap novelty toy.
Right.
So we contacted the guy. We got the rights to do it, and we did the Sea Monkeys. That was my idea. Killer Clowns was my idea because I had this uncomfortable feeling about clowns. Alien Christmas was something that I thought of. So for the most part, it's kind of been mine. Charlie had this idea with a partner of his, an exotic perfume called Schmell Me. And when you wear it, somebody's obviously going to say, "What's that fragrance you're wearing?" And what's your response? Schmell me. So they're trying to get that off the ground. There's another idea, Italian Odyssey, something Charlie came up with about what happened to the other ships that Columbus was sailing with. He was on one ship, but what happened to the other 2 ships? So we cobbled up an idea we call the Italian Odyssey. So it kind of bounces around, but usually it's just brainstorming. Like an early film that we did was a TV special, afternoon special, after school special that we did. And Charlie had done a painting of 2 kids in a tent in their backyard with a dragon kind of looming over it. And I said to him, "What's the story? What is that painting about?" And he didn't really have an idea of a story, but we kind of talked back and forth and brainstormed and came up with an idea about 2 kids camping out in their backyard. One of the kids has a real vivid imagination. And when he starts telling these fanciful stories, they actually become real in reality. So when he thinks about a dragon, there's a dragon there. And it's like a show we did called Cousin Kevin, based on Charlie's painting. So it kind of bounces around, ideas flow.
Nice. You mentioned Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We'd be remiss to not Bring that up and mention it. I mean, just such a standout project in a million ways. When you were making that film, did you have any idea that it was going to become? I mean, I think it even surpasses the term cult classic. You know, it's just such an iconic film. Did you have any idea making it? We got something really special here.
Oh, well, thanks for saying that. Honestly, no. I'm still amazed at how people have responded to it even after 35 years. No, we just wanted to make a film that we would like to see. We filled it with all the things that we thought were funny, thought were scary, thought were fun, and we just threw them into this storyline. And we just wanted to see something that we liked, and so it was really something we felt strongly about and really had a lot of passion for. So
yeah, I think that passion for that story and that movie comes through, and that's why it's held up for so long. Because there is a quality about it that it's hard to describe it when you watch it. There's just something special there, and I think that's probably what it is. It's probably the passion that you guys had for the project. And yeah, I mean, it's it's with 35 years now, something like that. You said, and people are still talking about it. And, people are going to keep talking about it. I have a 13-year-old son and he loves that movie. So it's going to go on to that next generation at least.
Well, that's what I find so amazing. I guess in the 80s, young people saw it. They eventually got married. They had kids. They shared it with their kids. Their kids grew up, shared it with their friends. They got married. We're talking about a couple of generations now. So I think it's that appreciation. And I think the fact that to me, it's a family horror film, a sci-fi comedy is what I call it. I'm pleased that the horror community has embraced it. I wouldn't call it a horror film really. But anyway, it's a family film. It's a kind of film you don't feel badly about sharing with your children, and they get hooked on it because kids like what their parents like. Well, yeah, the fact you can share it together. I've had so many people tell me about the common experience they had with their father, that the one thing they share is killer clowns. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool.
Is it weird to have that kind of, because when Killer Clowns first came up in this interview, you had just said that it was kind of because clowns give you the creeps. Is it weird to have that kind of feeling and then reach an audience like so widely based off of just this unease?
That's really funny. You mentioned that. A clown is now the emblem of our company. It's our mascot on our logo. So it kind of follows me around all the time. And I've seen more clowns than I care to mention because of it. It's interesting. And it wasn't the fear of clowns. It was just this uncomfortable feeling because clowns have a tendency to kind of infiltrate your personal space. They kind of get too close. And it kind of made me as a young person feel really uncomfortable. This big, grotesque, usually were much taller than me when I was young, kind of invading my personal space. And so it's rather a feeling of discomfort rather than real fear. But you're right. It's kind of followed me all these years and it's kind of fun. It's fun.
Yeah, that's ironic. What is the genesis of the misspelling of clown, spelling it with a K? Do you remember where that came from?
Oh, well, it was the obvious alliteration of killer. Killer.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, you kind of get it. But in the first campaign, I think in the poster, the Killer Clown poster with the globe on the finger, look at how they spelled crazy. They spelled it with a C.
Oh, really?
Morons. Well, I'm telling you, the people that were distributing the film they didn't know what the fuck we were doing. They thought it was a slasher movie with a bunch of white, guys in white makeup with knives. They had no clue what we were doing. So, of course, the marketing department, equally as brilliant, spelled crazy with the C.
A missed opportunity.
Well, I do think that kind of, I could see the misconception of it. And I think that kind of goes to partly, I don't want to say your fault because it's a good thing, but, the design and the appearance of the clowns and the effects that you use with them, you didn't know what they were. Like obviously they're clowns clearly, but you didn't know if they are slashers running around with knives. You had no idea what to take just on face value of them. And I think that goes with the design that's so different than anything we've ever seen. And I think your style has kept to that but changed at the same time, and you have such a unique style to things. Was there any specific things you were going for with the clowns? Because like I said, it's something we've never seen before.
Well, it's interesting you picked up on it. They were the way we approached it. These were, I guess, an entire species, an alien species from another planet that just happened to have markings that made them look like clowns. They always were an organic creature. I always describe them as a pulpy, slug-like anthropomorphic creature. And like a leopard or a zebra, it has patterns on it. And these patterns just seem to be like clowns. And again, one of the concepts we had was that these are ancient astronauts, ancient aliens that visited Earth centuries ago. And our image of clowns really comes from them, passed over from century to century. So that's the kind of mythology behind it. When it comes to our designs, my brother Charlie designed them. He's an illustrator, and we work with some great sculptors. Our Jim Cagle sculpted the characters, did a brilliant job bringing them to life as far as fleshing them out. But it's no matter how horrible we make something, there's always a strong character to it. Whether they're scary, there's always a character. If it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, it won't be just a dumb lizard. There'll be some kind of a character quality to it that we impart on it to make it meaner or make it, I don't know, give it some kind of characteristic that you can relate to. And I think that's how I would define our style. Some people would say it's cartoony rather than realistic. Cartoony is kind of offensive to me. I think we give it character.
Right.
So that's what I would describe as a Chiodo Brothers style, if I could describe one.
Yeah.
I think that probably goes to what Rob said. There's just kind of a quality to the movie that has made it age very well. It feels very authentic. There is that kind of character, and I think it comes through. I think people can see that.
Well, yeah, I think, and it's also mentioned the honesty as well. There are a lot of films out there like Killer Tomatoes and things that they're just kind of exploitative films, shock horror, and I think it's really just about the horror, about the gore, about the violence and the scares, and that's all it is. Ours was really more of an homage to the films that we really loved from the 50s and 60s. I mean, the storyline is based on the original Blob. We just took what I thought was a classic sci-fi horror film was the Blob. So we just kind of substituted our creatures into that storyline. But I think there was a genuine respect for the genre that we had. And it's a stupid movie. It's really stupid. A lot of dumb things in it, but it's done within a way that you're kind of embracing it with a smile, not making fun of it or degrading it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think you can see the difference when you watch the movies that you were talking about. And the fact that a lot of people set out to make their killer clowns from outer space. That was what they decided. They saw that movie, they saw your film, and they went, hey, we can do that. Let's just make killer, donuts or whatever. Yeah. And it just doesn't come across in the same way at all.
Yeah, I think they take the genre motifs of horror, and they had the shoo, 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 shoo music, and then it got the POV walking down the hallway, point of view of the character walking down there. It's closer with the feet, then where they're going, and all. It's classic cutting pattern, and you just put a different zombie, or you put a ghost, or you put in some kind of female like crawls out of a well, and it's the same kind of film. I think we kind of broke that a little bit because we were influenced by Looney Tunes. There's a lot of Looney Tunes,
yeah,
as well. So yeah. It's not really. I get the brothers are not really horror fans in that respect, like the Jason and the Friday the 13th and all that. I mean, when we were doing effects in the 80s, there were a lot of opportunities to do these slasher films, but we always said no. We didn't like doing the violence to women. We'd get a script and we'd make out the sheet of all the effects, and it was eviscerating or cutting a girl's head off, doing horrible things to women. And we said, what the fuck? We don't want to do this. So we didn't. So we never really got into that real legit slasher stuff.
Were there any
with the staying power the movies had after all these years and everything? How come we've never gotten a sequel?
Oh, well, that's one of the crimes of the century, guys. I'm telling you. We right out of the gate, we tried to do a sequel. Right immediately after the film was released. In fact, we had a TV deal. I forget where, USA TV, we had a series with Chris Beard to do a TV show with Killer Clowns, but the deal fell through like a lot of things do. And we have been trying to get the sequel going since 1988. And Hollywood is just a horrible machine. The film didn't really get much box office. It was really released very superficially to get enough publicity to bring it to VHS, just to get it onto cable at that time. That's all the film was. An opportunity for us to make our first film. So theatrical was small. And when you want to get a sequel done, they look at the box office. Very little box office in the US, zero box office in Europe. So based on those numbers, we would say it's a cult classic. We would show them hundreds of emails that we got from fans. I have a loose leaf binder of hundreds of emails to show how people wanted a sequel of some kind. And they don't regard cult films as something to invest in. They just don't.
That seems really short-sighted to me. When a movie has had the staying power that your film has had, it seems a no-brainer. You make a sequel to it. Maybe the first one didn't make the money at the box office, but I guarantee you there would be a line of horror fans out the door of every theater on opening night to see that thing.
I'm convinced of that as well. But there was a deal. I think MGM controls the rights, and they went to Sci-Fi, and they did Critters. And you saw what that turned out to be like. I don't know if you saw that on Sci-Fi or wherever it showed. But they wanted to do Clowns for like $2 million. And we don't want to do it. We did it for $2 million back in the 80s. So we didn't want to do it. And I think even MGM didn't want to do it. They said it was more valuable property than just signing it off for that little money. But we've waited. I guess you might have heard this from other interviews. We have this whole long trilogy, something we call a trilogy in 4 parts, because we include the original, a TV series for cable, streaming. And it follows the adventures of all the characters as they go through their lives, crushed after the first invasion. It would make a great miniseries. So we're constantly selling that for people who are interested.
Yeah, hopefully somebody will bite on that eventually. I don't see why they're not.
It's a great, great idea. And once they approached us to do a VR game, and I've got this whole thing planned out. I have this giant presentation. It was fucking fantastic. But new regime, you have a bunch of people. At MGM, they said, we have all these properties. Which one of our properties do we want to do? Everybody raised their hand, Killer Clowns, and all the things they have in their library. But that regime is gone. They moved on, new regime in. Nah, they don't want to do that. So it's like flavor of the month.
Well, I do see that, and it, IMDb is not exactly the most reliable source. So I was meaning to ask you, listed on your IMDb is Return of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space in 3D. Was there any truth to that, or?
No, we told them, don't advertise it. Don't advertise it until we really get the deal. But we had to go to script, actually with Grant Kramer, Mike Tobacco from the original film. He's a producer now. We worked with Grant. Generated a script, and it was a pretty great script, I thought, and didn't go anywhere. So now the fans are really angry. I would just tell the fans, don't get angry with us. The brothers have been trying desperately to do this for the last 35 years. It's not us. It's Hollywood.
Is there a petition or something that we could sign for Shudder, or like Netflix will pick up anything? Can we just harass them until we get this?
Well, I tell people to do that. I say, write to MGM. Just let them know that there's a fan base that would appreciate it. It's beyond our control.
That whole rights thing, and it's held back so many things. We hear all the time about movies that could have been, but it got tied up in that whole rights crap. And the Killer Clowns obviously is one of those things in there. And it's such a shame nowadays where, you have kids out there making movies with their cell phones, and for rights to be able to be the thing. And, with Indiegogo and GoFundMe, I would imagine, obviously rights aside and everything, if something like Killer Clowns went up on Indiegogo or GoFundMe, oh my God, the money it would raise in a day to be able to get that film funded and done. But, then you look at the rights and it's all held up over nothing, over a piece of paper, and it's amazing.
It's a good point. And people do talk to us about that. I don't think we could raise money on Indiegogo or GoFundMe to do what we want to do. It's millions of dollars. And as soon as we raise it, we don't control it. It will be
Right.
stopped at the MGM. It is frustrating. A lot of people say, well, you guys made a bad deal. It's not uncommon. I think if you see the
No.
story for a lot of people, when somebody funds a film, you're talking millions of dollars, and that investment is more than just the film. It's all these other rights and issues and reissues and books and all these other things. And they want to keep it in perpetuity and in our contract, like everybody else's, even in media not yet invented. So, going in, we knew it. It's not a bad deal. It was the deal. And if we had said no to that deal, they would have gone to somebody else and we would have lost the opportunity to make our first film. Our lawyer, very experienced, one of the top lawyers in LA, he said, look, guys, the only thing you're going to get out of this is making your first film and your fees. You're not going to ever see your back end. And we knew it. And so we got what we wanted. We got our first film, which kind of helped our careers. So we went in there knowing it. But that is the kind of Hollywood deal. And I'd say it's very unique not to maintain control of your IP after they give you millions of dollars. It's just not good business on their side.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a gift and a curse because we may not have, had you not done that deal, we may not have ever even seen the movie. Who knows with distributing and all that. MGM's a powerhouse, no doubt.
Well, and that's it too. Good point. You could covet your ideas so tightly that you never produce.
Right.
And you'll find you have to give the first one away, even the second one away, until you become bankable, a reliable enough commodity that you can start building a career. And that's what we did. We wanted to, with each new job we got, we increased our value, or increased our price till we become bankable. But to tell you the honest truth, it was, we walked into that place with a maquette, a one-sheet poster my brother did, in a treatment, and we pitched it in the room, and we sold it. The first pitch we ever did, we sold it, got $2 million to make a movie. We said, wow, this is so easy. So after that, let's do it again. And honestly, we haven't sold a motion picture since all these years. We pitch all the time. It's like a second profession, going out there and pitching. We've done TV. We did Alien Christmas, our holiday special for Netflix. So we've produced work, but we haven't done another feature since, because it is that difficult. It is really lightning in a bottle. It's being at the right place at the right time with the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Really is a lot of luck. So
yeah. Well, speaking of other stuff, you might not have produced a feature film, but you've had your hand pretty deep in the Critters franchise, which I think is another one. And I don't think you and your brothers as well, that you guys don't get enough credit for Critters. As everyone was talking about Killer Clowns, Critters is, I mean, that's another one with a unique look to the creatures and just so much going on there. And that's another one that you have another cult classic under your belt, and you've been involved in all the Critters. What was that experience like in that franchise?
Well, we did the effects on all four, and it was really, I always say this story because I want to give Kevin Yeager credit. That's right. Kevin Yeager recommended us. He had just done Nightmare on Elm Street. They were going to do Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Bob Shea wanted him to do the effects on Critters and Nightmare, and he said no, he's too busy. But he said, how about the Chiodo brothers? They'd be good for this. So we really have to thank Kevin Yeager for recommending us for Critters, which led us to Critters 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a great relationship with Rupert Harvey and my brain, I can't forget all the names. Great guys. Stephen Herrick did a great job on the first one. I had known Mick Garris before, but it was great to work with him on the second one. And the third and the fourth, wow, they did them back to back for $1 million each. That was a nightmare. But it was a lot of fun. I had an opportunity to puppeteer and really perform. It was a good old monster movie. That's what I liked about it. It was killing people, but as long as a monster does it, I find it, palatable. Yeah.
Well, you had also mentioned the sci-fi special that they did for I think it was Critters Attack was the name of it. I was shocked to find out leading up to the release of that you weren't involved at all. And it's like, as active as you and your brothers still are in the industry, it was like, kind of weird to me. And I hate when people, companies, whoever it is, take that authenticity out. Because just having you involved means so much to the project, So I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but what did you think about the end result of that one?
Oh, well, as a producer, I think they did the best they could with the budget they had. All right. I know the guys who did it. We had conversations with them in the beginning. We were going to build the stuff, but it ended up as money. Why build it in LA, ship a crew up there, our crew to go to Canada? So very early on, we kind of saw, no. You're going to go to Canada. You're going to do it with a crew up there
Right.
and get their price and all that. And to use our name at that point, even if they did pay us to put our name on it, like Chiodo Brothers, somehow designers or consultants, we didn't want to get involved if we weren't involved really. So we kind of backed out. It was a mutual backing out. We gave a price. We stuck to it, knowing full well that they would go to Canada anyway.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm a big Leprechaun fan. Speaking of creatures, and we know they had their sci-fi thing going on, and they're not throwing a lot of money at these guys, and that was another one. It doesn't measure up to the originals, obviously, with the Leprechaun franchise, but I looked at it the same way. As a fan, the money that they were given to work with, I think they did a good job.
Well, and that's it exactly. Look, it's kind of passing the baton to a younger generation. We had our start on the low budget films. Critters, it was pretty low budget, and that gave us our start. So now they're remaking it again. It's low budget, so give it to the new guys on the block who will work really hard, give it the best they can, because for them it's an opportunity to do something, because work gets work, and it can build their career. So it's a natural evolution.
Yeah. I know we're taking up a lot of time, but I have to ask you this because it just stuck out to me just now. What do you think the difference is? Because we look back then with movies like Killer Clowns and the original Critters franchise, even Friday the 13th and all of those. Nightmare on Elm Street's a great example too. What they were able to do with such smaller amounts of money and the visual product they were able to give us. You see these movies now that get so much money, and visually, effects wise, it doesn't measure up to, the practical effects that were used back then. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the computer has brought a production value and an ease and a flexibility of shooting that we've never had before. It's very production friendly in that respect, but it does cost a lot of money. But I don't think CG is great. It's a great tool, but it can't do everything. And I think like Jon Favreau has got a great handle on it. He mixes more traditional work in with special effects, with even new technology. And I think that mix of all the technologies probably makes the best, because you have to have that tangible quality of something real. You look at Yoda, you look at Critters. As funky as they looked, you knew you were looking at a hairball. That was real hair, real rubber.
Mm-hmm.
It was real stuff. And silicone's great too. So forget about the rubber. The silicone has a quality now that is just surpasses what the rubber latex could do in the past. But to have a physical puppet there it just brings this kind of surreal reality to it. It's fake, yet it looks real. It's like stop motion animation. It's kind of fake, but it's moving around like magic. So it's kind of this magic. There's magic to it. CG, I don't know. It's kind of like they bounce the camera around in ways the camera can't do it. So you kind of lose your point of view. Maybe I'm older. Maybe I don't get this new visualization of content, a generation, on how old you guys are, but people brought up on video games where the camera's moving all over the place with those POV, first person shooters. Maybe the film cutting pattern is more like that, so it's more enjoyable for the younger audiences. I don't see it that way. I like more of the stage proscenium and more cinematic type things where you're moving a camera rather than an avatar or an icon of a camera. So I don't know. I don't think I'm a good judge, but I do think you talk about traditional effects, the tangibility, where no matter how real or fake it is, it's real. It's physically there, and the actors are reacting to it. That's the important thing too. How hard it is for an actor to respond to things that there's nothing there but a tennis ball.
Right.
We did a commercial with a giant paper monster, and the actor was thanking us for having something there. It was a giant mechanical 9-foot mechanical beast we made, and it had a swipe at the guy. So I told him, I said, I'm going to really swipe you. I'm going to go for you. He says, go ahead. It'll make me more scared and I'll do better acting. And he was actually fighting with this thing. He appreciated it as an actor because it was this physical reality to what he was interacting with.
Yeah, I don't even know how actors do it. Sometimes you see behind the scenes, photos or footage of these guys, and there's big green walls and a tennis ball hanging there, and the guy's got. How can you possibly do that? There's no way.
Yes, and it cuts. I mean, it's so cutty now that they'll just do an isolated cut. I mean, they have previs, so they say, okay, here's the previs. This is the shot we're doing, and they break it out. Okay, this will be the background. This will be an element. This will be an element. This will be an element. Okay, we're going to put you on a mechanical horse and throw you around, and then we're going to put a wire on you and fly you off. That's the shot today. I mean, where's the acting come in? But when you have a physical prop, you're actually shooting a scene with multiple cuts within the context of the props, the set, and the creature you're interacting with. Even as funky as the creature might be, it's still more real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has that. That's why I strongly feel we don't get classics anymore. We just don't get those movies. Like I can't see my daughter passing on any movie from her generation. Maybe there's a few exceptions here and there, but nothing that's going to go multiple generations like movies from the 80s and even, some from the early 90s and all that. I just don't see it making that connection with the viewer anymore, which I think touches on a lot of what you were saying.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, coming from, a young person, again, it's if that's your perspective. I know we had a conversation with Jon Favreau. He talked about computer animation. He said when he did Elf, the reindeers he had in the movie was cutting edge, top notch. It was the best, and it was so great. He says, looking back at it now, it's aged. But he said stop motion that we did looks just as good and as it does now. So I think there's a timeless quality to practical effects that CG can't match. CG will get better and better and better, and every year it does. It makes everything before that look bad, looks cheap.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. We've taken up a lot of your time. I know that, but I would kick myself if I didn't ask what it was like working on Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh, yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that was something that you'd have to speak to my brother, Charlie.
Oh.
Yeah, we were working on so many jobs during that. I think we were working on Ninja Turtles, maybe the Critters. We were doing so much stuff during that time that we had to split up. And I was doing Land of the Lost. That was it. I was doing Land of the Lost. I think Edward was working on the Critters, and Charlie was sent to Tennessee, and he worked on it. He was on stage, worked with John Cherry, worked with Ernest.
Jim Varney.
Had a great time down there. John Cherry designed the characters. Charlie modified them and kind of made them more Chiodo-like. And we made all those costumes with a bunch of really talented people. I'm going to put an end to a myth that people are out there portraying. They say that we reused the clowns for Ernest Scared Stupid.
I was going to ask you about that.
No, we did not. I think maybe the ears on one of them might have been a mold we kept. So that might have been, but no, the similarity is only in Charlie's designs. Charlie designed the clowns. Charlie designed the trolls in Ernest. So that is the similarity. They're not killer clowns. It's just Charlie's kind of quirky, Jack Davis, more Drucker type horror character.
Yeah, okay.
Talk about a movie you can bond with family. I mean, my grandmother, I'm shocked she doesn't hate me for how many times I made her watch that damn movie when I was that. I burned that VHS out. Yeah, but Mr. It looked like your wheels were spinning. You had something there?
Oh no, it's funny. You could watch the film again and again and again and again back then. I mean, that's how we got our Killer Clown audience. It was on USA Cable all the time. They watched it multiple times. But now you've got like 500 channels with 500 choices with new content coming every week. There's just too much stuff to watch. Have you ever revisited anything you've seen recently in the last couple of years? I haven't.
Not very often. No.
There's always new
Yeah.
stuff to watch, but I haven't
Yeah,
gone back and looked at old movies.
well, my son was like, I don't know, around 8 or 9. He loved How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and he would watch it all the time. And it'd be July, and he's watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and it blew his mind when I told him when I was a kid, it was on once, one time a year, and if you missed it, you weren't seeing it again until next year.
Yeah. Embarrassment of riches. You have access to anything at any time. Recently, I've been going on Prime. Was it Prime? Amazon Prime. They've got all the old monster movies. It to Terror from Beyond Space, Angry Red Planet, Crawling Eye, all those great movies, and I watch those now.
Yeah, all those channels we have, over 500-600 of them, and there's not shit on to watch, which is absolutely amazing.
Shudder
Right.
seems so great. I've got it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chiodo, we are so grateful for your time. I want to end on one last final question, just to get your quick take on it. We recently had a tournament of slashers of sorts, and I just wanted to get your view. Our finals, it was like a March Madness kind of thing, and our finals was Pinhead versus Candyman, and Pinhead ended up taking the crown. Who do you think wins that matchup?
Oh, I'd go with Pinhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
He's going with Pinhead. Have you seen the movie Rubber?
Oh,
dear
no.
God.
Rubber.
Yes, it's a movie about a killer tire. It was directed by, I don't know how to say the guy's name. He's French, and I it's well beyond my reach of pronunciation. I was just curious if you had seen it. They do amazing effects work, I think, to make this tire work. They move around, and it's practical. It's incredible.
I haven't seen it. I thought it was a sequel to the Killer Condom, but no, I obviously
No.
I'll check that out.
No,
Yeah.
don't check it
Don't.
out.
That is
Well,
not slasher radio approved.
I will say, of the three of us on the show, I'm the only one who liked it. But
Oh, I
I thought it was incredible.
I've been quoted as calling that movie the biggest piece of shit ever. So I've
really?
advised.
Now it's a must. Now it's a
Yeah,
must.
it's not that. It's not bad. It's a good movie.
Well, what would you recommend? My son recommended The Void.
That's a good movie.
And
That's a tough one. A good horror movie. See that I stick to the older stuff.
I'm trying to think of what I've seen recently that I liked a lot. I mean, I liked Slacks a lot.
Oh God,
Slacks was actually pretty good.
that's a movie about killer pants. You can see Rob's taste in this game, Steven. It's very low tier.
Slacks, Rubber. Okay.
He's responsible for it. Killer Clowns just led to Killer Tires to Killer Pants.
Oh, dear
Yeah,
Just
God.
going down the line.
No, give me. I'm going to think of something. What I see. Something about, as it is above, it is below. What's something?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's good. As above, so below.
Yeah, as above. I thought that was new to me. It was. Yeah, that surprised me. I like that one.
Yeah, that one is a good movie.
Yeah, there's gems out there. You know, I the way I talk, I don't want to. You know, I try not to make it seem like I'm crapping on everything, but there are gems out there that are still shining every now and then.
Well, I think if you were to look back at the number of films that were produced, let's say in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s,
Right.
it probably was only 10% really good stuff and really 90% crap.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing now. And we're only remembering, let's say, that 10% thinking it was a golden age. No, there probably always was that kind of percentage of good and bad.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. Wow. Mr. Chiodo, we cannot thank you enough for your time tonight. It was I value this conversation more than you know. This was a great time picking your brain, and we just appreciate it and everything you've done for the genre. And thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys are great. Really smart questions. Really great to talk to you guys. And I appreciate your enthusiasm about the whole genre. Let's keep it going and make it as good as we can. It is a great art form. It's a great way to tell stories. People dismiss it, but I think it's totally a valid way to tell stories. And it's just keep it going.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for that Killer Clown sequel too.
Absolutely.
I will start writing people.
I tell you, just inundate MGM. Talk to find somebody and say we want it. We
We will actively start harassing them. Is there any contact information you want to give to everybody listening to reach if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, I think we have a Facebook, Chiodo Brothers Productions Facebook page, and we have a crappy website. No, it's easy to get a hold of us. I think our Facebook page is where you could write to any of, to the clowns. What is it? Clowns at ChiodoBrothers.com. That kind of gets it to our producer, and he disseminates all the stuff to the brothers.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we'll go through and we'll list everything, all you guys' contact stuff at the later on the show for sure, because it's definitely a lot of good stuff to look out for.
Well, I got a question for you.
Yes.
For me, we did this Alien Christmas for Netflix.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you think? Tell me, because I have mixed opinions.
I liked it. I thought it was a fun time.
I agree. I think it's something we don't get anymore.
How would you? What is it that you don't get? I'm curious. Your reaction, because you guys are educated.
It's hard. I think it's kind of like Killer Clowns, where it's hard to put your finger on it exactly, but it's just there's a lot of, especially holiday. I feel like holiday movies get thrown around so much, but it's rare that you can actually sit and feel a movie. Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. Working with Jon Favreau was a real trip. I learned so much working with that guy. He's a great storyteller, and he helped us bring the heart. Really brought the heart out, because we were just making a lot of jokes, and we were giving that snarky quality. I wanted it to be a classic holiday special, but with a little bit of not irreverence, but just updating in a way that just made it a little different than just rehashing Rankin and Bass. Right. So the reindeers. I mean, we had a tough time getting those reindeers back in the story, and I thought it was one of the funniest parts. And our Santa Claus, we made him like a bully. He was like he was like a different kind of Santa Claus. He was a jolly guy. He was a nice guy, but he kind of pushed people a little too hard. So we had these adult themes in there, along with the classic, warm heart. And so I'm just curious, because we don't get any information from Netflix. There's no real analytics. There's no box office. There's nothing. So I'm still in the dark at how people responded to it.
The Netflix algorithm failed me, because I did not ever see this come up on my Netflix screen. And I'm looking at it now, and I wish I had.
This is a Rob movie.
I love the look of it. It looks like you were talking about, one of those old classic Christmas specials that I used to watch as a kid. The look is fantastic. And so I haven't seen it, but I'm going to go check it out.
Check it out. Tell me what you think. I'm curious.
And yeah, we haven't really gotten a lot of Christmas specials, like a lot of holiday classics that have really stuck up very well. Like even when I was a kid, the holiday specials, they were all a few years older, and I like this one had the feel of like those old claymation Christmas movies.
Right.
And that was something that you don't see a lot anymore.
Oh, well, thanks. That's what we hope. That's what we hoped. Yeah. Not just imitating, but trying to create that warmth of heart with characters that we thought were funny and endearing. Well, I just wanted to find out, because
absolutely, it was definitely a fun movie. I enjoyed it very much. My daughter liked it too. Yeah, it
had a puppy in it. How could you hate it? It had a puppy.
Right, and that alien was adorable, if we're going to be completely honest. I just lost a lot of credibility, but it's okay.
You didn't have much to begin with. It's fine.
Oh, Lord.
Well, that's great. Hey, well, thank you for that. And thanks for the interview. I enjoyed this. You guys are really great.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
All right. You guys have a good night.
You too. Enjoy.
All right.